What's up, everybody? This is Tanner from TanmanBaseballFan.com. I wanted to showcase one of my favorite cards in my collection. I love this. I love this card, and I've said a few times before that out of all the cards I have, this might be the one that would have the hardest time to sell if I ever got rid of everything. This is an 1886-87 Old Judge, Billy Sunday. And I want to talk about this player. He's a very special player to me here. Definitely not a Hall of Fame or anything. He was an average hitter. He was a good fielder, but he was an incredible base runner. In fact, in 1885, his manager slash co-teammate or whatever, Cap Anson, set up something where he would go on a foot race versus Arlie Latham, who's considered the American Association's fastest runner. And Billy Sunday ended up beating him in the 100-yard dash by about 15 feet or so. The fans loved him. They loved all of his acrobatics in the field and base stealing and everything. So you may or may not have heard of Billy Sunday before. And if you have, maybe it's because you heard of him from me, because I've talked about this before. But before I get into the player, let me talk about the card. I fell in love with Old Judge cards because of basically everything that this card has. Let me show you, by the way, first of all, the 5 poses, known poses of Billy Sunday cards in Old Judge. This is from the Old Judge book. So you see them all here. I used to have this one. I sold it. And you have the rest of these. So this is probably the most famous one, but this by a long shot's my favorite, and I'll tell you why. I was excited when I saw this. I saw this on a forum and it was raw, so I ended up sending this in to be graded. This could have, I mean, I don't know if I would be happier if it came back a 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. It's just the picture is phenomenal, and that's mainly the only thing I care about when it comes to Old Judge cards. But anyway, so this has everything to me that an Old Judge card should have. It's got an elaborate backdrop, so it looks like a stadium there in the back. The ball is hanging by a string in the ceiling. That's what they used to do when they took pictures for these, in the 1880s. And I love the whole story that this is like inside a studio. They have like this little mat that looks like it's grass, the backdrop, of course. And what they used to do is they would actually take larger pictures. So this originally was a larger picture in like a 24 picture matrix grid, whatever you want to call it. And so what they would do is they would actually cut out little pieces like this right here. For instance, this is Old Judge cigarettes, and paste it on the photograph, take a picture of the entire matrix, and then cut them up by hand, if I recall correctly. So that's how this was created. Everything, like the photograph, the creation, the ingenuity back there just to make it look like an action thing. Like, I love everything about it. These are like all of the things I love about Old Judge baseball cards embodied into one. But that's not what makes this extra special for me. What makes this extra special for me is Billy Sunday. So why? What is the deal with Billy Sunday? There are some people in the past that have said, I don't understand, why are his cards so expensive? Not, of course, not to mention the fact that he only has very few of them out there. He's got that handful of Old Judge cards. He's got a Yum Yum tobacco card and some others like a Buckner gold coin, I think, perhaps, but like very, very, very few. So I've known of Billy Sunday ever since I was a kid, because I remember my folks got me a book called Billy Sunday Baseball Preacher. The front of the book looked like a 1956 Topps baseball card. So I had assumed all the way up until about 2 years ago that Billy Sunday played in the 50s or 60s. I was wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Like this, if he had a 1956 Topps card, it would probably sell for about less than $5. So you could get a whole boatload of those things for his Old Judge cards. Yeah, so it's a big difference, obviously. I was shocked, and I was way more intrigued when I found out that he played in the 1880s. And actually, was a teammate of Cap Anson, King Kelly, some of my favorite guys back then. So he was very trustworthy type of guy. Cap Anson actually put him in charge of managing money for the team or something, from what I recall. And one day what happened was, I believe it was the Salvation Army, or some people from the Salvation Army were giving like some sort of like a gospel presentation or something. And so he ended up committing his life to the Lord, and he ended up being one of the most influential evangelists ever. Just a solid, stellar guy. So one of the things was kind of interesting. There's a saying that says you could tell if God has a hold of a man's heart if he has a hold of his wallet. And so I thought this was kind of an interesting story. Billy Sunday ended up asking God if he wants him to quit baseball, then to have, whoever's above him release him or something. So that happened, but a team came around and said, hey, I will give you $3,500. And the average working wage for the year, I think, was like under $500. So which means $3,500 or $500 a month for 7 months. That's during the season, for you to actually play for my team. I think it was Pittsburgh, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but he said, after going back and forth on it and talking to friends and family, he said, you know what, I can't. I've got to fulfill my promise to God. I am not going to play baseball anymore. So instead of getting the $500 a month, he ended up going to work for the YMCA, so he could pursue ministry, and he got $84 a month instead. So playing baseball for $500 a month or working at the YMCA for $84 a month. He picked the YMCA, and he ended up, having a very difficult time paying rent and all these other things because they were very late many times for paying him. Like it was a tough time. So anyways, ultimately he ended up becoming an evangelist, holding these revivals and everything. And interestingly enough, he ended up becoming quite wealthy doing this, and he donated a lot of money, and lived fairly frugally from what I can understand. And, he ended up, interestingly enough, I think this is kind of a funny point, is that these revivals that he would have ended up being, from what I'm reading, many times, multiple times bigger than fans that would go to the games of Chicago. So kind of a crazy thing to think of, especially you think of maybe somebody like King Kelly that would pack out somebody like that, or Cap Anson, but Billy Sunday, so just a really kind of a fun, interesting backstory on him. Like there's a player back in the early 20th century by the name of Home Run Baker. He and 4 other Yankees went to one of his talks and ended up becoming a Christian as well. They called it, what was it? Walking the Sawdust Trail, because they had sawdust on the ground, and they had these guys walk down it to really kind of commit their lives to God. And so he had a number of really catchy quotes, and one quote was interesting. I've heard quite a bit. I didn't realize this from him, but it said, going to church does not make you a Christian any more than being in a garage makes you a car. I thought that was good, stating that obviously it's not the church that makes you, church going doesn't make you a Christian, but actually, putting your faith into Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. That's what makes you a Christian. And so I've heard that saying like for, many, many, many years, ever since I was a teenager, I think. So it's kind of fun to see the, where it came from. Apparently the origin is from this guy right here, Billy Sunday, the baseball preacher. He's got a number of books that were written about him. If you search hard enough, you'll be able to hear some of his sermons, but they're very poor audio quality. He spoke to many, many, many people over the course of his preaching career, and this is all before microphones and radio and all that. So he is probably of his time, he was the biggest that he had ever been an evangelist. So, and a lot of this is, you know, people wouldn't really know it if they just scanned through a list of baseball players from the 19th century. So he had an incredible career after baseball, you know, just preaching about Jesus, and just a really, really cool story, a really cool backstory about him. So, yeah, so check him out if you're interested. He's got a lot of books. I mean, his baseball cards are pricey, but I think there's some new cards out there if you're interested, like probably Upper Deck or Panini, I'm sure, put out some over the past 10 years. I don't know, but I think that might be the case. So if you want to check him out, check him out. But anyways, going back to the card itself, though, just a stellar card. I love this. Really cool picture. The picture is super clear. That's really rare for Old Judge baseball cards as well. So anyways, there it is. Thank you guys for watching. I hope y'all have a fabulous day.